Hey guys, welcome back. Drip Coach here with Drip and Farm for Poverty, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate with integrity and transparency. Today we got Samson Mow back on the channel talking about Dollar Sat Parity. Paid attention to that as a likely outcome. I've heard it being kicked around the term, and maybe you're not familiar, but basically what that implies is that the government could decree, the same way they did with gold, what the price of gold was. They could decree that 1 sat equals $1, and that's it. It's just literally an executive order. Now, I don't think that's going to happen at all, but it's very interesting to listen to Samson Mow talk about this and kind of how we're heading down this direction. And then this also brought into the reality for me that we could have, before dollar, you have dime parity and penny parity. And penny is the first stepping stone. So let's take a listen.
As we dive into his thesis. Thanks and enjoy the video.
There's discussion about will it be a quick transition off the dollar or a slow transition. I think it's actually going to be a quick transition because fiat currencies always die in a spectacular manner. It's just a question of when. And you also have to factor in that the US dollar is in a very unique position because it is largely digitized outside of stablecoins. Like, it is a digital thing. It's reached market penetration that no other prior reserve currency has reached, right? Like, it's sort of married itself with technology and ingrained itself in economies around the world. So it might actually take a few years, maybe 5 years, maybe 10, I don't know. It will end, but it's taking longer than normally it would have. That a non-digital fiat currency would not have this lifespan.
Is that because we can essentially offshore some of the debasement required to keep the dollar monetary system solvent?
Yeah, well, if you look at history, like, all the reserve currencies in the past were relatively centralized because they weren't digital. But with the dollar being mostly digital, right, you've kind of permeated every other country's financial system in some way with it. And in some way, every single other fiat currency is now linked to the dollar, right? Everything is a derivative of the dollar. If you look at the Singapore dollar, right, it's linked to the US dollar. The Hong Kong dollar is also linked in some ways to the dollar itself too. And then you have other countries that just use the dollar outright. So it's reached really high levels of permeation that we haven't seen in history before. So that's why I think it's managed to hang on this long, even with the astronomical amounts of money printing. But in the words of Lynn Alden, nothing stops this train. So it's just...
That was an eye-opener to me because I never thought about it through that lens, about how widespread the dollar adoption is. Like, we know from the macroeconomic trade settlement reserve currency status, everything being finalized in dollars. But when you move to like the base layer, and I can speak firsthand, for example, like he just said, other countries are using the dollar. While I was in Cambodia, it was very common. It didn't change until about 3 years ago. Anything over 20 US dollars, even 10 to some degree, you actually had US currency. So let me rewind that. About 3 to 4 years ago, the US dollar was used in transactions just as much, if not more so, than the Cambodian real. They made probably an executive order equivalent to start pushing more of the Cambodian real, and then slowly you stop seeing 5s and 10s being circulated, and then now only in ATMs you can get 100, and that's it. You'll still be able to get $20. The 50 is not used that much, but it is very much intertwined into their country. Now I'm over here in Colombia, same thing. Ecuador, the next door neighbor of Colombia, uses the US dollar. Venezuela, their company or their country currency has collapsed and they're still experiencing 80% inflation. They prefer to use the US dollar on the black market. The government is trying to push them to the boulevard, of course, to use their currency. And that's the nail in the coffin. All governments, central banks, countries want to use their own currency because they print that motherfucker. They can inflate and do whatever they want with it. So what Samson just mentioned about the dollar being in the country, in all these other countries being utilized on the transactional base layer with end-to-end, peer-to-peer, merchant-to-merchant, that extends the life of the dollar because they have been able to offshore some of that usage into other countries. So like he's saying, it is pretty much digitized. Now I can't transact in the bank account. Actually, I take that back. In Cambodia, you could, yes, use dollars. So you had a real account and you had a dollar account. So yeah, you could definitely scan and pay for stuff with your phone digitally and never have physical dollars, and you're running digital dollars. So yeah, it is, wow. Yeah, it is extended and permeated into multiple different countries, as he mentioned. So all that really means, TLDR, is that this is going to extend the life of the eventual collapse. We know from history, all world reserve currencies, all fiat currencies in general, eventually collapse. It's not a matter of if, it's just when. And the dollar has been the longest world reserve currency due to these technological advances. And now with stablecoins and Bitcoin, we're probably seeing that get kicked down the road even further. And that's where he's saying maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 5. I don't know if it's shorter or longer than that, but the end is still the same. Bitcoin.
Just going to keep inflating. And it's just a question of when it hyperinflates. I mean, I've heard the argument that stablecoins are extending the life of the dollar because it's helping effectively deliver the dollar to more people in the world. But I don't know. I still hold a lot of weight in the idea that fiat currencies fail spectacularly. And that's just because when people wake up, they all wake up. It's not like we'll start transitioning off the dollar and the corner store near your house is going to keep taking the dollar and changing their prices to like $1,000 for a Kit Kat bar, right? It's just going to be a quick thing once that thing hits, and they'll just switch off and take Bitcoin because they can't afford to not take Bitcoin. They can't afford to take the dollar at some point. And I think Germany with the mark dying, that's like a good example. It happened in, a year-ish.
And that's another eye-opener because he's going all the way back to Germany and the mark. But this is happening right now in Venezuela. It happened with Argentina. I forgot there's another country around here as well. Hyperinflation, when it hits, like he said, it is aggressive. Like, it doesn't just slowly transition. Like, once that hyperinflation debt spiral is in place, then people are looking for ways to escape. And what's the guy that runs Letten? He was the co-founder, because that's exactly what happened in this country. I'm drawing a blank on it. It's in South America somewhere. But that's what made them start, like he said, hoarding batteries or bike tires or precious metals, like anything that they felt would hold more value than that piece of paper that the government inflated. So, like he said, that corner store can't afford not to transition to Bitcoin. They can't afford not to get out of whatever that country's currency is that's hyperinflating. That's why it's called hyperinflation. There is no other way around it. And the only reason that governments stay in power or whatever is due to military force. They run around with guns and police force and all this stuff and tell you what the price of goods will be. And just out of fear, people comply, but then a lot of them up and leave. i.e., I'm here in Colombia. I'm literally going to be going close to the Venezuelan border, and there are people coming still by the dozens every day leaving Venezuela because the currency there is still under hyperinflation. It's a lot better. It's only 80% or so. But they're like, this does not work. I can't live my life here. So they're running across the border to Colombia and doing whatever they can to start a life. So they will accept any other currency that they can get their hands on that's not the Venezuelan bolivar. So it's not all the way back to Germany. It's happening right now in real time. And I'll be able to give you some closer updates when I get over there. I'm not going into Venezuela. That shit's crazy. But I'll be in a city near there. So as he said, eventually this does all collapse and all roads lead to Bitcoin. So this is where we get into this dollar sat parity that could be an option on the table when the shit hits the fan.
And that was a non-digital thing. So I think it'll be faster for the dollar to fail. But until that happens, it does feel like Bitcoin is extending it by integrating with it in some ways. So I've talked about rebasing to Bitcoin and just setting an exchange rate of 1 sat to $1. And that just takes a politician, maybe it's Trump, I don't know, but somebody just to say, we'll let you redeem your debt for this. And that's it. I mean, how do you peg a dollar to gold? It's by decree. And pegging a currency to Bitcoin is the same. It just depends on the motivations and the necessity of doing so. I think when things get bad enough, every card is on the table, and we're seeing that.
And that is, again, an eye-opener for me. Like, I can't wrap my head around it. I can't say, like, I believe it. But obviously, Samson Mow has done some homework. He's not just some random YouTuber spitting nonsense. So could that happen? Yeah, it's a card that's on the table, put it that way. It's not impossible. It's not implausible. Is it likely? Probably not. But that leads me to what could be likely. And just looking at the numbers. So if, remember, there's 100 million Satoshis in one Bitcoin. So if we were to go to Dollar Sat Parity, that puts that at a 2.1 quadrillion market cap. That's a far cry from now. But look at that. Penny parity is basically the gold end cap. Right now, gold's market cap is sitting at 23 trillion, we'll call it. Going to penny parity puts us at the 21 trillion that everybody has basically said is on the table. That is not difficult from here. That is literally just under a 10x for Bitcoin from here. Here's a hypothetical. Could we get there naturally through normal adoption and growth? And then if it happens in this cycle, let's say, again, like he said, a politician could do it. Could that be Trump? Could someone like Trump, if that happens during this election cycle, decide, let's go ahead and pair penny parity, basically 1 sat equals 1 penny, so that it becomes an easier way for other people to adopt and understand it? Is that possible? Sure. Why the hell not? Like, literally, it would have reached the market cap, and then you could just pin it there and say that this is what it is. It's possible. And that's where sites like this I showed you guys before, the price in sats, helps people understand. It's like, yeah, when you decide to go and buy something, you will then be able to see, instead of it being right now 5,000 sats for this strawberry shampoo, it'll be 500 because it's just a penny. 574 pennies, basically, right? 574 sats. And then it's just easier, I guess, easier for Western minds, the US specifically, because we're familiar with pennies, but maybe other countries it won't make any sense. But yeah, I just want to know what you guys think. And that's why I wanted to play that clip with Samson and give that kind of precursor to this, and then show you how far or how close we are to that. And what would that do? I have no idea what that actually means in regards to the future of Bitcoin and how things work. But this could very well, let's go ahead and do this thought experiment a little more. Let's say it gets paired here, and that's exactly what they did with gold by putting the price of gold at $42, which it is on the books now. Then gold continued to rise, $3,500 or so right now. Does it have it here? 3,400. So that means they could pair Bitcoin, 1 sat to 1 penny, and nothing stops Bitcoin from going higher, and you still being able to redeem it at higher dollar values elsewhere, so to speak. Like, I don't know how to exactly phrase that, but it doesn't mean that it stops and that's all you get for it. The same way gold is paired on the books at $34 or $44, 42, but you can exchange it globally at that dollar value, 3,400. So it's not like it's capped there, is all I'm getting at. All right, let me know what you guys think about penny parity, dime parity, dollar parity with sats. Smash that HBO special, help a brother out. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and until next time, live daily and achieve your possible. See ya.